Hey everyone, welcome back to StoryThread HQ, and we're gonna, as always, dive right into our topic today. Today we're talking about creating a narrative for your customer, and this is juicy. This is right up our alley. We love this idea of applying some story principles to businesses' marketing so that they can just more effectively invite their customer into that story.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with the first point, which is understanding, and this is going to start with you as a business, understanding your brand identity and why that's important.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times we immediately go to our product and we let our product define our identity. And it's important that your product has a forefront position, but not necessarily your brand. And your brand is you. And a lot of times, we tend to overlook the fact that, different brands that we've learned to trust, it didn't start out that way, right? We learned to adopt the products from particular brands because of our trust in the product, because the product is really good. But it took time for us to develop that aspect of trust. So when it comes to business, people do business with people, right?
Yeah.
They're far less likely to want to do business with a brand unless that brand identity really speaks to you as the business owner. I'm not talking about like you have to put your entire, like people don't really care so much about you or your brand in the sense of like, one great storyteller was like, he says, nobody cares about the fact that your grandfather started the business 35 years ago, right?
Right.
They care about what does the product do for me,
Right.
But how you present that does actually build in your specific touch to that,
right? Because your why matters.
Your why absolutely
matters. And I think that's like what we mean by understanding your brand identity. It's like starting with that why, because that keeps you on target.
Totally. Right. You might have two products of identical build, identical offering. It solves the same problem. One's green, one's blue. If people like the green, they go with the green. But here's the deal. They will go with the why. They will get behind a person. They'll get behind the brand. They'll be behind the mission. If you have a solid mission, they're going to go with the solid mission because they're going to buy emotionally, right? So if both products, both looking beautiful, are equal value, they will choose and even spend more money. This is actually science here. They're going to spend more money when it's attached to a why and a mission that reaches them internally. It matches their internal desires and also their external problems and internal problems.
Totally. The next point we have when creating a narrative for your customer is choosing a specific audience, right? You can't be all things for all people. And I think that is oftentimes overlooked. On marketing, it's just general audience.
I wish I had a really cool tagline or catchphrase for this, but your niche is your king.
Riches are in the niches.
The riches are in the niches. Hey, right? There you go. That's where the key, the catchy phrase is. Right. But your niche is really going to be, who are you selling to? What are you going after the high-end client, or are you going to the average client out there so that you have consistent work across the board? That all depends on your strategy,
right, and
your product pricing and everything else. You're going to end up finding that a particular group of people will end up being consistent in your ideal client profile. This is how we talk about it in the marketing world. You want to frame that out, and then you're going to build that why to speak to them. That's where the story part comes into play.
Yeah, and number 3, this is probably the biggest one of the bunch, in my opinion. And if you want to get really good at creating narratives for your customer, it's making it about them.
Totally.
And that's counterintuitive intuitive. And I think on the surface, still today, you could look at the majority of businesses make it about themselves
100%.
and not their customers. But if you look at like all really good storytelling, the main character is your customer. It's not you as the service provider.
Right. You can be the guru, but
Yeah.
don't come straight out and say, I'm the guru. You can, but you want to make sure that you're positioning yourself as humble, approachable, and also the authority. So this is where I've come to realize that there are people that claim to be the authority that are not humble. That tells me right off the bat that they're not the authority.
Yeah.
Because if they're not teachable, this gets into the whole psychological perspective. And I like the fact that when you come in humble and you make it about them, and yes, you have confidence in the product, that speaks the world.
Yeah.
And then people are going to be much more comfortable in buying from you because you're approachable.
Actually, the next one's really related to number 4 for creating a narrative is focusing on identifying those pain points, the problems that your customers are having.
Yep.
If you can identify those and include those, that goes a long way in bringing your customer into your business through narrative.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I don't need to go too deep into that. I mean, if you want to learn about our story thread and how we approach telling story and creating a story out of your business and out of your why, and it's a real simple process that we walk people through, and it's not expensive. But it's the foundation for all of your marketing. That is how we can help you in that process. But the idea is that people buy out of emotion. But there's an aspect of logic to it too, right? You can't be all emotion because then you start to ask the question internally, like, is this really the best product? Is this really the best option for?
It has to make sense.
It has to make sense, right?
But you can look at it, sort of the glory days of the Apple versus PC type of content that was out there, when really for decades it was very like, here are the features of the product. This is very obvious why you should buy it. And then Apple comes along with the whole Think Different campaign and pulls in the emotions of why you should buy it. It's not just because of the features, but it's the benefits. It's, here, enjoy this, carefree lifestyle. Like, listen to 1,000 songs in your pocket, it's just, so you want to tie in some of that emotion because that is why people buy, right? But it has to obviously be backed up by something that makes sense for them, that will work for them and has their best interests in mind.
Right.
Number 6, right? Understanding that customer journey, that you're taking them from point A to point B, right? And so understanding that journey is huge when you're crafting that narrative, because there's going to be obstacles in their way, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's your job as the business owner, the one marketing, it's your job to help them avoid those obstacles and get to that preferred future.
Right. Whether that be like infographics or a simple SOP as to how things are going to happen for them, those are important things that you could build into your marketing that help develop trust, because nobody wants to be let down unless they just are filthy rich and they actually don't mind throwing money out the window, and they are going to give you the chance because they're really excited. Is this going to pay off or not? You want to actually lead them through the process of clarity, because again, that helps build trust, because every aspect of marketing does not work exactly the same way every single time, because there are all kinds of different aspects to marketing that you have to take into consideration and also be flexible in the process of learning. And so when you're working, when someone is looking at you and your product, do they have a roadmap that explains the process from start to finish? And then the follow-up. And don't forget the follow-up. follow-up is key and critical to your storytelling. It's, again, about them. So what is the happy ever after situation? How you respond to that is part of building the story so that others can trust the process.
Absolutely. In our process, we call this closing the gap, right?
Right.
And when you can identify the obstacles in their way, right? It's like if your customer is standing on the edge of a chasm, right? And they want to get to the other side. It's like, how can you as the business owner close that gap? How can you build that bridge to help them avoid that obstacle going from point A to point B? And I think the better you can identify those obstacles, or more clearly articulate the ways for them to overcome those obstacles, again, you're building trust, you're building credibility, you're building authority in that process, and you're helping them have confidence in you that, hey, these guys can solve my problems, and it makes sense now for me to do business with them in some way.
Totally.
The final point to creating a narrative for your customers is to repeat. To use that narrative that you've created over and over again and use it in multiple areas.
Yeah, I mean, we'll sing about it until the cows come home, but it's the 7-point strategy that you need to have for your business.
Yeah.
And that consistency across all channels is really, really important. If it's not being sung and understood in such a way that it becomes muscle memory, you will find that lack of clarity seeps in. So that's part of the process of telling story is you don't want that story to evolve unnaturally. The story can actually develop naturally through experience and through greater numbers of people that you're reaching or the different types of niches that you start reaching. And that will change your story as you go. But you have your framework that is always going to be the pinpoint to all those like caveats to a good story. Because again, one of the things that, if you are just providing a service for someone and that product just, case in point, does the job, that's great. Hey, you guys are awesome. Thanks for, fixing the leak in my kitchen, or thanks for, wiring up my house, or, thanks for boosting my portfolios. I got, 10x over what I was expecting to experience. That's great. But in the process of that customer experience and your marketing, helping them like key in on things that you want them to experience, that is part of the execution, the delivery of what it is that you do. Again, it's not about you, it's about the customer. So what is it that they're going to experience because they're in this relationship with you?
Right. And just realizing that in that narrative too, we talk about the repetition being important. It's like your customer needs to hear that same message more than once, right? We can't expect that just the social media post will get them, or just the email will get them, or just the flyer will get them, or whatever it may be. Even as people, I think we need to hear a message, 7 times, 9 times before it actually sinks in.
Yeah.
So the repetition of that narrative is going to be crucial in, again, that consistency that they see. They go, okay, I've heard this now several times, and it's starting to stick for me. So the next time I'm experiencing that discomfort, that problem, I'm now thinking of that message that I heard because I heard it enough for it to sink in. We say this all the time, that clarity creates confidence. And so when we have that, our customers can also have that as well. So
that's right. Well, thanks everybody for taking some time to watch this video. I hope that it provided some value for you. And hopefully you got a little bit of an insight into the things that we do here at StoryThread Media. And if you're interested in finding out more about how to market your business, go ahead and check the link below. And like, subscribe, hit the notification button, because those things matter. And we appreciate you. We really do. Your time matters, and I hope it pays off for you guys. And we'll see you on the next one.
See you in the next one.
Yep.